I can literally, and I do actually drive this car every day. Hey, I'm Magic Mike, and I've owned so many exotic cars, and I've lost so much money along the way as I've gotten bored and traded in and out of them. But that stops right now. I'm driving 50 supercars over 50 weeks until I find and ultimately buy the perfect exotic supercar keeper for me. Hi guys, I'm Mike, and this is my 720S Spider. It's a 2020, and this is the benchmark car. It's going to be a very, very hard car to beat. And for me, a car has got to, first of all, be very fast. It's got to handle well, and most of all, it's got to be fun. And this car, it ticks all the boxes. But like with every other car, I want to find something better. But what I love about this one, this is actually my second 720S Spider. It's in Helios Orange. It is the launch color for the McLaren Senna. First one was black. I saw the orange, had to have it, blew me away. You really can't beat the performance of a McLaren, so we should probably talk about that first, because for me, as an exotic car owner, that is the ultimate test. This car has 710 horsepower from the factory. This one happens to have quite a bit more. Now, McLaren claims 710 from the factory, but we all know it's been out long enough to know that it has been putting down 690, 700 on the dyno to the wheel. So McLaren kind of fooled the competition. It's 568 pounds of torque from the factory, and the car only weighs, that's just shy of 3,250 pounds from the factory. So it's super light, power to weight ratio. This thing is incredible. It drives like an ultra fast go-kart. If you've never ridden in a McLaren, this is the supercar to drive in. It is by far, in my opinion, the most fun, but we're gonna find out. This spec is particularly special. It has every bit of carbon, really, that you can get on a McLaren, minus a couple small things. It's got the exterior pack 1, 2, and 3. Carbon everywhere, front diffuser, the intakes, the actual headlights are actually intakes, carbon on the hood, the carbon mirrors. The only part that's not carbon, and I really prefer it this way, is I didn't do a carbon wing. I love how the color flows on the 720S. In my opinion, this is the prettiest McLaren made, but I would prefer this over the McLaren Senna in terms of actual looks. Performance, this particular car, mine has been tuned. Mine has an exhaust, mine has downpipes. So performance-wise, there's really not much on the road that touches it, short of maybe a underground racing car. So it's got all the fun, it's got all the drivability. The car inside, the spec is truly second to none. First of all, with the McLaren, you get everything. You get the doors. Exotic car, you've got to have the doors. Some of the cars we're going to drive, they're not going to have these, and maybe they'll offset it with some features, but like I said, it's going to be a really hard car for us to beat. When I'm looking for a car, I'm looking for how it feels first. And the McLaren, one of my favorite things about a McLaren is that it just feels right. They have the seating position absolutely perfect. The seats are comfortable. It's actually a car, even in track mode, which is where mine stays all the time. You can drive this car for hours. You can take the car on a road trip and the car is gonna feel like any normal car. It is super soft, super smooth, yet it gives you incredible performance. Now that being said, the negative about the McLarens, the joke is you've got to have two so you have something to drive, because McLarens do break. I believe they've probably got the best engineering in the business, but they could really step up the quality control. I've actually, I've had some real issues with mine, and it's a very common thing around McLaren owners, but it really becomes part of the ownership experience of a McLaren that you just kind of deal with the rattles, the noises, the small things that typically go wrong with the car. It's not normally major issues, but there are a lot of things. I would never own a McLaren not under warranty, but just look at the car, the way you sit. It's a true head turner everywhere you go. The car, this one particularly, the color just jumps right out at you. It's got carbon everywhere. And of course, I mean, look, we got carbon surround in the radio, the MSO carbon paddles, carbon steering wheel, carbon inset, carbon trim on the doors. Back here, which is not a very common option, all carbon here. I mean, it's loaded up. So for me, it's the type of spec that I want. I don't like to pull up next to another car and say, I wish I had that spec. So I've picked up one that's really got everything. Even the A-pillars are carbon here. Now the McLaren, you know, the car is really a novelty. And this is where I think McLaren has really captured the market. They've really come in strong and they've built cars that not only compete, but they beat pretty much everything on the road. This is the fastest roof, I believe, in any exotic. It might be the fastest single piece roof, hardtop folding roof in any car out there. This thing goes up and down in 10 or 11 seconds. It's really unbelievable. And you can be driving, I don't know, 30 miles an hour, I think it is, and it will still let you operate. Now, that may sound trivial, but there have been other supercars I've owned. A Ferrari 458, for example, used to drive me crazy, that had to be completely stopped. So if you're stuck at a red light or something, you're screwed. And for me, it's just another nice feature. Let me show you how quick this thing is. So to me, it's utterly amazing how fast this whole process is. Done. Another really cool thing about this car is you have tons of storage in a McLaren. So again, it checks all the boxes for me because it's got practicality as well. I can literally, and I do actually drive this car every day. Currently I'm driving a new G-Wagon and I'm driving, my cars are always shifting and I'm driving this, but I'm actually driving the McLaren 4. So there is tons of trunk space, much more than I've gotten in any of my Lamborghinis, like literally double the space. And on top of it, McLaren gives you this very cool, and they've been doing this really since the introduction of the 12C Spider, but they give you a tonneau cover where you've actually got a decent bit of storage here. I actually can and have taken this car on road trips, and I will be taking it on many, many more road trips. So again, it's got practicality, it's got performance. There's really nothing that McLaren has missed on this car, short of maybe some greater reliability. So there's really very little to not like about this car. All the modes, obviously, comfort, sport, and track. I drive cars hard, I drive them fast. I drive them the way they're supposed to be driven. I'm not a guy that parks my car in the garage. I've got almost 3,500 miles on this car in the first 2 months. That's more than most people will ever put on their supercars in their entire ownership. So I am a guy who will be giving you a real perspective on what a car can do and how it should drive when it's actually driven daily. It's actually my car that gets a lot of use. So it's gonna be a hard benchmark, I think, for anybody to beat. And again, this one's loaded with Alcantara too. There's really just nothing wrong with this spec at all. I would love to add, I mean, look, McLaren even have cup holders, 2 cup holders, and they're actually usable. So this one's got the B&W Bowers & Wilkins 12 speaker system. Frankly, that's a great novelty. It actually kind of sucks. Lots of rattles in the door when the bass hits. Again, it's McLaren, but it's kind of what you pay for in a McLaren. Overall, there's really not much that I would change on this spec. It's gonna be an incredibly tough car to beat. Even the super lightweight wheels, there's nothing. I can't imagine anything I would add to this thing. So the beauty of the McLaren Spider and why when you have a McLaren, you have to have a Spider is, I believe, first of all, an exotic, unless it's one that you're going to be racing, really should be a Spider. That will have zero effect in a McLaren because of the carbon fiber tub. McLaren has nailed it with the carbon fiber. They're really the innovators in the industry. There is never any cowl shake. A Spider weighs only about 100 pounds more than the coupe weighs, and that's really remarkable. So you would actually notice no difference driving the Spider versus driving the coupe in terms of how rigid the car is, how fast the car performs. In fact, I've seen some tests where the Spider is actually outperforming the coupe. Whether or not that's intentional, whether or not that's the drivers, I don't know. All I know is, for me, this car is the most amazing car that I've ever owned. Again, I've had everything. And this one, it checks all the boxes for me. So tomorrow we are going to put this car through the paces. We're going to show you, I'm going to rate its awesomeness. We're going to give it to you from a real owner's perspective. I don't care about exact stats on a car and what does this and that better. What I want to know is which one feels the best, which one is the most fun, ultimately, which one I'm going to keep. So again, here's the benchmark. Tomorrow, you're going to see us put it through what I'm going to call the awesomeness test. You're going to get not just my opinion, but what other people actually think about the car too. So make sure you like and subscribe, and you tune in tomorrow to catch us testing this baby out.